Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into something pretty counterintuitive, actually.
We are. It's this question. Can being, well, ruthless with ourselves actually help us learn better, maybe even faster?
Exactly. You brought this YouTube discussion by Sergei Kontsavoy to my attention, looking at Carlos Castaneda's idea of ruthlessness.
Yeah, and how it connects unexpectedly to something called silent knowledge.
So we've sifted through the transcript, pulled out the main threads for you, our listeners,
Our aim is really to unpack what these terms mean in this specific context.
and see how this, well, unusual perspective might give you a fresh angle on your own journey of learning and understanding.
It's definitely not the everyday definition of ruthlessness, that's for sure.
No, not at all. Castaneda's take, as Consovoy lays it out, it's fascinating. It's not about cruelty,
Right. It's defined more as a lack of pity.
both for yourself and for others too.
And the foundation for that is, well, it's a specific worldview, isn't it?
It really is. It's this idea that the created world is inherently perfect.
And that includes everything, not just the parts we like or think are good.
It includes the stuff that seems flawed or difficult or just messy.
So if you start from that point, that everything is fundamentally perfect in its own way,
Then logically, there's no real basis for pity, is there? It kind of dissolves.
it's a huge shift from how we usually operate.
Totally. So instead of, feeling sorry for yourself or someone else,
The focus changes. It becomes more about informing people
informing them about what?
about the possibility of living a happy life, pointing towards potential well-being, rather than dwelling on the struggle.
Okay, that's a very different spin. Now, the video contrasts this with maybe more traditional paths to inner strength.
Yeah, Consovoy mentions that historically you might see a kind of resilience, maybe even this ruthlessness, develop in people who've gone through really hard times.
Like they endured serious stuff without letting it make them bitter or full of self-pity.
Right, that kind of hard-won toughness.
But this Castaneda approach, as presented, seems different, more intentional.
Yes, exactly. Consovoy suggests it's maybe a softer or at least more conscious way to cultivate this state, this absence of pity.
And this is where it links up with silent knowledge.
This is where it's really interesting.
Okay, silent knowledge. What is that, according to this framework? Don Juan, via Consoy, ties it directly to ruthlessness.
But it's not like suddenly knowing everything, right? Like having all the trivia answered.
No, definitely not. It's described as something more personal.
It's a deep knowing, but it's specifically centered on what genuinely captures your interest, what you're truly fascinated by.
Ah, okay. So it's tailored to your own, deep-seated curiosity.
Precisely. The video gives a couple of examples.
Right, like someone driven by making money versus...
Versus someone like Gautama Buddha, whose driving question was about suffering.
So their silent knowledge would naturally align with that core interest. The money person gets insights into wealth creation. Buddha gets insights into suffering's causes.
It's like your own focus naturally draws the relevant understanding towards you, an intuitive grasp.
That actually makes a lot of sense. It's not about forcing yourself to learn random things, but letting your core interest guide you.
But then there's this other path mentioned.
Ah, yes, concern. The Russian term was kontovoya.
Kontsevoy presents this as another way to potentially reach silent knowledge, though maybe less recommended in this specific teaching.
And he suggests that figures like Buddha and also Ramana Maharshi might have actually reached it through this intense concern.
Yeah, through a profound, almost obsessive preoccupation with a fundamental question. Suffering for Buddha, the self for Ramana Maharshi.
But why is the ruthlessness path maybe seen as, well, preferable or more straightforward in this context?
Well, the suggestion seems to be that the path through ruthlessness might be easier to navigate, maybe even easier to step back out of if needed.
Okay, so there's this idea of movement between states. The video laid out a cycle,
Right, it goes, reason leads to ruthlessness.
which then opens into silent knowledge,
And from there, one might move into concern.
which then potentially loops back to reason. And it can go either way around.
Apparently so, clockwise or counterclockwise.
And Consovoy throws in a really provocative thought here.
He does. He wonders if reaching silent knowledge, mainly through that intense concern, might have somehow darkened the teachings.
Darkened. What could that imply? Maybe made them very, very focused on that specific issue of concern.
Possibly. Or perhaps imbued them with a certain intensity or gravity that came from that initial state of deep concern, making them maybe less light.
Could be. But he also credits their profound insights to reaching that state of silent knowledge, regardless of the path.
Absolutely. So the challenge for us becomes understanding their message, keeping in mind the potential filter of how they got there.
Right. If their starting point was this deep concern, how did that shape what they ultimately shared?
And this leads into another point from the video about the Buddhist ideal.
The Mahayana motto, I will free all living beings.
Yes, that massive aspiration, which ties into the whole concept of freedom itself.
Okay, freedom. How is that framed here? It's not straightforward, is it?
No. Consovoy suggests that true freedom, ultimate freedom, is basically incomprehensible to us.
Yeah.
Too vast.
What we understand much better is the lack of freedom.
Exactly. Usually defined by external things, walls, rules, debts, constraints.
But there's an internal aspect too, right? Especially relevant for learning.
Yes. Internal lack of freedom often feels like discomfort, unease, feeling stuck, or maybe overwhelmed.
That feeling when you're trying to learn something complex and just feel weighed down.
Could be. Conversely, the video suggests that internal comfort, joy, a sense of ease in just going about your day, that points towards inner freedom.
Like being in alignment, maybe, with yourself or some larger flow.
Something like that. An alignment with a creative force, perhaps. So that feeling of being overwhelmed by information overload, that could be seen as a sign of this internal lack of freedom.
So applying this ruthlessness, maybe letting go of the pressure, the self-pity about not knowing everything,
could potentially lead to more ease, a more free state for actual learning to happen.
Interesting. Okay, so let's try to pull this together for our listeners. We've gone through quite a journey here.
We have, from this unusual take on ruthlessness
to this idea of personalized silent knowledge.
And this whole cycle involving reason and concern.
So the big takeaways seem to be ruthlessness in this sense is about ditching self-pity, rooted in seeing everything as fundamentally perfect.
And this state is proposed as a direct route to silent knowledge, that deep, intuitive understanding focused specifically on what truly fascinates you.
We also touched on that other path through intense concern and how that might shade the teachings of even major figures.
Right.
So for you, the listener, especially if you're keen on efficient learning, those aha moments, what's the relevance?
Well, it offers a pretty radical thought, doesn't it? Could adopting a form of, let's call it radical self-acceptance, dropping the self-criticism, the need to feel sorry for yourself when you struggle,
could that actually sharpen your focus, make you more receptive to the knowledge you're seeking, perhaps even speed things up?
It's a provocative idea, and it leads to one final thought to chew on.
Okay, what's that?
Thinking about that cycle, reason, ruthlessness, silent knowledge, concern. How might consciously shifting your own internal state affect your learning?
You mean like deliberately moving away from just grinding through analysis towards a more detached self-awareness?
Maybe. Or allowing yourself to really dive deep into one burning question, like the concern path. How might that change the kind of knowledge that opens up for you?
And is there a kind of ruthlessness required just to let go of what you think you know, or the fear of not knowing, so you can actually learn something genuinely new?
That feels like a really potent question to explore in your own process.